One Piece isn't just a story about freedom. It's a story about liberation. For over 26 years, people have written essays, recorded podcasts, and made hours-long video essays trying to capture the essence of One Piece. However, the core message of One Piece is simple. It's so simple that people have reduced it to the liberal understanding of freedom. I want to dismantle that thesis and show you that One Piece is a story about revolution and liberation. To do this, I have to explain how liberation differs from freedom. I need to show you how Oda demonstrates domination and subjugation through the usage of justice and the will to conquer others. And finally, we'll be able to reach our final destination, the One Piece. I'm serious. The One Piece is in fact a revolutionary spark, and Oda uses it not just as a motivational tool, but as a thing that will bring truth, revolution, and world liberation. So if you want to find the One Piece with me, become my Nakama by subscribing and leaving a wonderful, beautiful like and a comment. Without further ado, let's go. In his first appearance, the revolutionary Monkey D. Dragon is shown walking through a storm, as he recalls a quote from the late Pirate King, Gol D. Roger. It reads, "These things cannot be stopped. An inherited will, one's dreams, and the flow of time. As long as people hunger for freedom, these things will exist." To a lot of readers, this quote encapsulates One Piece's message of freedom, and throughout the series, the idea of inherited will and a people's dreams makes their appearance. From Drum Island to Skypiea to Water 7 with Robin and Frankie, to Fishman Island and their many dreams of the sun, to Dressrosa, and finally Wano. But if one reads these arcs, they will soon realize that Roger was missing something, as people may hunger for freedom, but they don't ever attain it by simply being hungry. This is the core difference between freedom and liberation. The Algerian Frantz Fanon highlights the difference in his books, The Wretched of the Earth and A Dying Colonialism. Fanon stresses that without armed resistance, the Algerians to this day would still be praying, dreaming, and starving for their freedom. Fanon writes in his early book, The Dying Colonialism, that liberation, or in this case freedom, is not just gifted to the colonized. No, it's won through armed resistance, the decolonization of one's mind, and revolution. Those who write about liberation stress that it's a verb, an action that seeks to dismantle the systems that dominate and oppress people. This doesn't mean the dream of freedom is irrelevant, but like in One Piece, it becomes a core motivation that spurs people to risk their lives and fight for liberation. Take Wano Kuni for an example. For 20 years, the people of Wano dreamed about freedom, and at times they revolted against Kaido. But Oda stresses that Kaido broke the wills of the people of Wano and smothered the flame of freedom. Like other colonized people, the minds and the spirits of the people of Wano were suppressed by Kaido, making their dream of freedom into a fleeting, impossible dream. Wano highlights that although a people may be starving for freedom, if the inherited will and the dreams of the people are not acted upon, freedom will never be attained. The despair found in Wano is countered by the revolutionary liberating force that is Monkey D. Luffy. One Piece continuously hammers down the point that dreaming about freedom isn't enough. Rather, it showcases time after time, arc after arc, how those who have power dominate and oppress the weak must be taken down with violence. Thus, to truly understand how One Piece is a story about liberation, we have to take a look at how Oda uses domination and subjugation in his narrative as a contrast to the many actions of Monkey D. Luffy and Monkey D. Dragon. One Piece features a world that on the surface seems light-hearted and on the brink of a fantasy-like wonderland. But in reality it's grim and filled with suffering and depression. The signs are shown as early as the second episode, where Luffy and Kobe seek out the notorious pirate hunter Zoro. Oda, as early as the second episode, depicts Axe-Hand Morgan as a tyrant who uses justice to dominate and intimidate the people of the island. The core idea is utterly ruined in the live-action adaptation because the Marines are portrayed as honorable sailors who just want to bring law and order to the seas. What the director of the live-action missed by injecting propaganda into One Piece was that Oda planted the idea that the Marines use justice to dominate and rule over others to have it spring back into action in Enies Lobby. Let's sideline how the Marines are taught how to use justice to dominate the people of the world for a second and take a look at everyone's favorite antagonist, Wapol. Wapol is basically the embodiment of the American government and their healthcare policies. Although Wapol uses violence and intimidation, he privatized the advanced healthcare of Drum Island so that the 20 top doctors only serve him, while he ruthlessly hunted down any remaining doctors. Drum Island on the surface seems like a rehash of other story arcs, but by ousting the king, the people of Drum Island regained both their freedom and they got Medicare for all. Let's talk about some rain. Following Wapol, the Straw Hats join Princess Vivi of Alabasta to stop a rebellion by taking out the scheming mastermind warlord, Sir Crocodile. It's never said through the text, like Oda doesn't provide a big fancy-ass Oda box. Or he could have had Ace, an experienced New World pirate, comment, but he didn't. But Crocodile was able to dominate and manipulate Alabasta to such a degree because his sand fruit allowed him to control the climate of the entire island. Oda confirms a devil fruit can do this in Drum Island, where when Ace visited the Winter Island, it didn't snow for a single day, and later when Crocodile is defeated. In dominating the climate of Alabasta, Crocodile was able to cause a historical drought, while also throwing massive sandstorms at oases, burying them, causing their people to flee and fall into despair. By doing this, he pushed the young to blame the king and rebel, bringing the country to the brink of collapse. So when Crocodile tells Luffy, What did I steal? The rain? Yes, Sir Crocodile, you literally did steal the rain. Crocodile also maneuvered politically as his base of operations was the only place in Alabasta that received rain. The people of Alabasta probably contrasted the successful rainy rain base to the deprived, rainless capital. The stark difference created the political tensions necessary for a revolt. Ironically, Luffy defeats Crocodile with Gamogamono Storm, and once Crocodile was beaten, it just magically starts raining again all over the country. You know, it's almost like Crocodile had command over the entire climate or something, you know? Now, I've been talking all about rain and the control over weather, and it might seem random, but in the future there's going to be water wars. States have already started to strategically block waterways, and as the Earth's climate worsens, there will be more severe droughts, causing governments to subjugate others by depriving them of clean, fresh water. It's time to flip to the juicy, horrifying, depressing forms of domination and oppression. The world government has multiple methods it uses to dominate and oppress the people of the world. Their main method is by using law and order. Take Ohara for an example. The Ohara genocide was committed because the scholars of Ohara were resisting the world government's stranglehold on information. The world government began this form of domination with an 800-year law banning the reading of any poneglyph or simply investigating the history of the world. Before anyone jumps in and bootlicks these fascist laws, they are absurd and should be challenged and resisted. The complete persecution of the Oharan scholars is the main reason Saul defected, as he stared into Sengoku's soulless eyes as he told him that the government ordered a genocide on Ohara. Saul and the people of Ohara had every right to resist the fascist world government, and the five elders' reaction shows the reader the true fear the world government has. In being fearful of the truth, the government aimed to silence any who sought to learn the truth by bombing an island off the face of the earth. However, brute force isn't the only way the world government dominates or controls the people of the world, as Enies Lobby was a core institution that was used to enforce bullshit laws and send anyone to Impel Down. Built a ship for the late Pirate King? Prison. You're the son of the late Pirate King? Prison. The Honorable Marines the live action displays are in truth bloodthirsty murderers and enforcers of the world government's oppressive laws. Rob Lucci is a great example. He joined CP9 because the organization gave him a license to kill. Or the bootlicker Admiral Greenbull, who just worships the celestial dragons, wanting to put the liberated people of Wano back in their so-called proper place. Both Enies Lobby and Impel Down are incredibly important institutions for the world government. The first allows them to put on a facade of the law, which is torn off by the trial of Tom, but Impel Down is used to imprison anyone who goes against the world government. The levels of hell in Impel Down were created to break the spirits of the people it imprisons while they rot away and escape the wrath of bloodthirsty wardens. That's right! That's right! Wardens also have a license to kill and execute prisoners.
俺にはお前ら全員をこの場で処刑する権限とその力があることを忘れるな。
The final form of this domination is through the ability to conquer and enslave others. Although slavery is illegal in the world of One Piece, in certain areas where discrimination against fishmen and other beings is high, one can find a human shop where slaves are sold to the highest bidder. Fishmen and slaves in general are often bought by the celestial dragons, as they are used to make the technological advancements found in the Holy Land of Marijoa function.
しっかりゆっくり快適な速度で回せ。ペースを守れトレードも。休むな、働け。助けてくれ。さもなくば殺してくれ。
Again, the law pops up again, as slavery is illegal. But then you have celestial dragons walking all over town, riding and parading their slaves. The so-called creators of the world soar over the laws like dragons. Because simply put, they have all of the political power in the world, but they also create and decide when the law is enforced. One of these laws makes it clear that none can oppose the celestial dragons. Denying to bow to a celestial dragon is an offense so severe that the punishment is a spot-on execution.
なんだよ、道でも聞きてえのか?
Hitting a celestial dragon brings one of their obedient admirals to execute you.
おお、到着しましたんで、応答願います。
They're seen by the people of the world as gods. Before I explain how the celestial dragons are able to dominate and subjugate the world, let's talk a bit more about slavery. To learn more about the celestial dragons and their fascism, we look at the fallen celestial dragon, Don Quixote Doflamingo. Doflamingo and Dressrosa mirror the structures of the world government and Marijoa. Doflamingo holds the belief that he was born to rule and dominate the so-called human trash. His devil fruit allows him to control people like they're puppets, as he makes those who he deems as lesser move according to his will. The people who do resist and disobey him are turned into obedient slave toys who are tasked to work in a shady underground port, and when they're done for the day, they are tossed into the literal trash. Doflamingo, like Kaido and the Five Elders, controls and oppresses Dressrosa with the principle that might makes right. Oda shows us a clear example as when Luffy isn't there to stop him, when there isn't a force directly there to combat him with violence to stop him. He straight up massacres anyone around him. So Oda shows us that Kaido and the Five Elders are able to dominate and oppress the world because they have the ability to conquer. Conqueror's Haki isn't just a fighting technique that Oda uses to get rid of 50k fodder, but in the world of One Piece it gives those who have it a justification to rule and conquer others. People who do resist face untouchable, demonic monsters. Both Wano and the world are dominated by beings who conquer those who resist with pure, untamed violence and might. Two quick examples. Kaido believing that only the strong can change the world, which is why in the finale, he tells Luffy that he may be strong. He acknowledges Luffy's power, but it isn't enough for him to change the world. On the flip side, you have the Five Elders, who view people as insects, as they just go around casually talking about erasing a seemingly very bothering light. Oda is basically telling the reader that the Five Elders have received this same order multiple times in the past, and these lights just tend to be people who threaten the world government. Although none of the people shown in Imu's flower garden have been targeted yet, this erasure is shown when the Five Elders order the assassination of Sabo by massacring and erasing an island off the face of the earth. Some really fascist shit. Now, all of this might seem grim, it might seem dark, it might seem depressing, so I think it's the perfect time to go and find the One Piece. There are three things that bring the world government absolute dread. The true history of the world. Monkey D. Luffy, the warrior of liberation, and the Revolutionary Army, an organization created on the ruins of Ohara. Readers are first shown the world government's desperation in the Ohara flashback, where Professor Clover reveals snippets of the world's true history before he's shot dead and the island of Ohara is burnt to the ground. the second crack is shown a lot more clear as Fleet Admiral Sengoku's face almost bursts from anger when Whitebeard reveals that finding the One Piece will spark a revolution and reignite a war. His final words further tell the world that the One Piece does in fact exist. Sengoku, one of the biggest cops in the entire series, shows tremendous rage because he was in charge of suppressing any flame of resistance to his masters, the Celestial Dragons. Although Oda hasn't provided a full flashback on Dragon, I'm going to assume that Sengoku relentlessly went after the revolutionaries, and whenever Dragon did something, he would yell at Garp. The third crack, which isn't very obvious because in its revelation, the five elders sound so chill, but in a desperate move, they do try and assassinate Luffy, but they instead awaken the very thing they feared, the warrior of liberation. The fourth crack could be Vegapunk's most recent revelations on the history of the world, as Egghead mirrors Ohara to a teeth with the exception that the five elders are present and are taking part in erasing any and all life forms. In all three examples, the One Piece sits as a catalyst for both world revolution and world liberation. The One Piece acts as a revolutionary tool because it's tied to the missing historical piece that both Clover and Vegapunk are missing. It's why when Whitebeard talks about the One Piece, he says the person who finds it will have a decision. Either they use it to take the world, or they use the historical knowledge to unite the world and dismantle the world government. I also think this factors well with Kaido's dream. Kaido, like Luffy, wanted to change the world. He took over Wano knowing it had Pluton, and waited for Joy Boy to come and open the borders of Wano. But Joy Boy, Luffy, refused to join Kaido. It's a funny twist on fate. Finding the One Piece also ties into the story Professor Clover began to tell, and the very same one Vegapunk would continue. Clover tells the story of an ancient kingdom, but before he revealed who they were, before he revealed the name of such kingdom, he was shot dead. The story continues if you read past Water 7. You'll find that this kingdom had ties to the Nefertari family, the Shandians, the Giants. For some reason, the Shipwrights of Water 7, the Kozuki clan of Wano, and the Fishmen. All these tribes banded together to combat the 20 kingdoms that would unite, becoming the world government. However, these tribes lost, but traces remained which would become keys to world liberation. 3 ancient weapons, and a blueprint for one, scattered poneglyphs that contained history and important information, a massive ship called Noah, a fruit, and the One Piece.
One Piece.
Narratively, it seems like One Piece is gravitating to a Messiah, chosen one kind of story, where the D are the only ones who could destroy the eternal darkness of the world government and bring a dawn of a liberated world. However, both Luffy and Dragon's ambitions of liberation are not rooted in them being chosen ones. Dragon didn't wait for the arrival of Joy Boy, as once he saw the ruins of Ohara, he was determined to bring the world government down. He even hid his name from his comrades in the world. Unlike his son Luffy, Dragon's operation and reach extend to all blues, and his revolutionaries tend to inspire the oppressed to fight and overthrow their governments.
さあどうするゴミクズども死ぬか戦うか己の運命を選べ
Whereas Luffy does most of the heavy lifting. Dragon's revolutionary army is also made up of other oppressed people, as Oda shows the slaves of God Valley join Dragon, forming the core of the army, but also in Luffy's flashback, where Dragon saves the people of his own kingdom from being burnt alive.
この国こそ世界の未来の縮図だ。いらぬものを淘汰した世界に幸せなど待ってはいない。いつの日か必ず俺はこの世界を変えてみせる。
Although Oda refuses to show Dragon on the move, he should be the person who inspires readers to join the oppressed and fight for liberation. The one who is front and center in the liberation of the world is Monkey D. Luffy. And before he became the world's messiah, he was out there waging war on the government. He destroyed both Enies Lobby and Impel Down. He punched a celestial dragon for being a slaver. He liberated 3 countries from tyrannical warlords. And finally, he liberated Wano by ascending into godhood without even realizing it. Oda sure loves to play with the dream or destiny theme, as the suspicious mayor throws this line.
あの子の夢だもの。心配？
夢か定めか。
All this is to say that Luffy is much more revolutionary than he is a pirate at this point of the story. One Piece is thus not a silly story about freedom, but a story about liberation that calls its readers to raise the pirate flag, to decolonize their minds with the truth of the world, and finally to be like Dragon and Luffy and take up an armed struggle against the people who oppress and dominate the world. You think I'm talking out of my ass, linking Fanal to One Piece? Just take a look at the people who threatened the world government. All of them were not passive in the face of the tremendous power the world government holds. Rox D. Zebek, for an example, is framed by the cop Sengoku as a terrorist. And when this propaganda and whitewashing of history is removed, I bet Zebek wanted to wage a revolution by uniting all of the strongest pirates. Zebek failed, because there wasn't any real solidarity, but God Valley seems to be where Roger changed course. It seems absolutely despicable for a man who preaches freedom to help the Marines and the Celestial Dragons protect their slaves. After God's Valley, Roger steps up as he notices the Marines were trying to stop him from reaching the final island because the discovery of the One Piece can actually turn the world upside down.
残り数秒わずかに灯った命の火を奴は世界へ広がる豪華に変えた
Clover was a professor who, unlike Roger or Zebek, did not wage an armed resistance. But he knew he couldn't just talk with the 5 elders with civility. And he knew his death and research would influence the future. Dragon, Vegapunk, and Robin would all inherit the will of Ohara, continuing the intellectual resistance. Fisher Tiger, a fishman who faced the brutal realities of slavery, did not just hide underwater and succumb to the cruel, evil world of the Celestial Dragons. No, this fishman geared up and scaled the Red Line, launching an armed revolt against his slave masters, with the intention of freeing the slaves who he left behind in his first escape.
種族として人間を嫌ってはいても奴隷たちに区別せず何千人ものあらゆる種族を解放してくれたのじゃ
Then you have Whitebeard, who waged a war against the world government to take back a prisoner. Ace was to be executed on a bullshit crime, and so Whitebeard indirectly challenges the world government's justice. He did not sit back and shiver in fear of the world government and the Marines. No, he stormed the Navy headquarters, and in his dying breath, he once again passed on Roger's dream.
One Piece は実在する
Monkey D. Dragon. Dragon quit the Marines out of disgust, becoming a freedom fighter, before he saw ground zero of Ohara. The Ohara genocide convinced Dragon that fighting for freedom wasn't enough. What the world needed was revolution, and he was, and still is, determined to change the world. His top officers were also slaves, who were hunted down by the Celestial Dragons in God Valley. His organization is rooted in the oppression of the people of the world, and Dragon, knowing about all the suffering, knows he can't just sit down with a genocidal government and talk. Peace and justice will not arrive by talking with a genocidal enemy.
共に戦う意志のある者はこの船に乗れ。
Armed struggle was waged to liberate the people of the world, and at first this starts small, a few small islands, and then you have the revolutionaries infiltrating Marijoa to wage war directly on the Celestial Dragons by burning and laying siege to the so-called Holy City. Lastly, you have Monkey D. Luffy. There are many times where Luffy could have been passive, where the overwhelming power of the world government would have shaken any normal person. But the thing about Luffy is that he has no fear. Like, look at him. So fucking casually ordering Usopp to shoot down the government's flag. Luffy may be an idiot, but he instantly understood that the entire world government is Robin's enemy. Or look at him here. He sees Kami being sold as a slave, and Hachi being shot by a celestial dragon slaver. Any normal pirate would have given up. Luffy, without hesitation, punches a celestial dragon in the fucking face. I won't spoil Egghead, but there are many more examples. And yeah, I know. After Marineford, Luffy does recognize the tremendous power of the world government. He loses hope. He thinks he's too weak. And I think this resonates with a lot of people in our world, who after seeing so much suffering and death, they just dip into that doomerist mindset.
それを無情に打ち砕く手も足も出ぬ敵の数々。この海での道しるべだった兄。なくしたものは多かろう。世界という巨大な壁に次々と目の前を覆われておる。それでは一向に前が見えん。後悔と自責の闇に飲み込まれておる。
To surpass this mindset, Oda tells the reader that Luffy needed two things. First, his comrades. Second, he needed a mentor to train him. So if you're dipping into that doomerism, Oda is basically telling you to train and get stronger, both physically and mentally, and to take Saul's words to heart, as you may feel like you're struggling alone, but the world is vast, and if you search, you'll find your nakamas. So yeah, I stand by the claim that this story is not just about freedom, as the people of the One Piece world may hunger for it, they may be starving for freedom, but there are people out there who are directly fighting for world liberation. They will not surrender. They will not peacefully talk with a government who has committed multiple genocides. And if it turns out that liberation came because of destiny and not because of a people's dreams and free will, Frantz Fanon has stated that the destiny of the colonial world is a dying one, and its death is always brought with a people's dreams, inherited will, and armed struggle.
もう終わりだ。関係ねえんだぞ。王様だろうと神様だろうと、誰が偉くたって偉くなくたって関係ねえんだ。俺は海賊だからな。
It's June 10th, 2024, and there's still a genocide in Palestine. Kids are being bombed. Men, women, old and young, being hunted down by drones and tanks. Day in and day out, massacre after massacre, hospital after hospital. How are we and the Palestinians on the ground suffering to have hope? I said in a video that One Piece gives me and a lot of its viewers or readers hope. There are moments when Luffy is defeated and a time when he does die. Oda in these moments shows the reader despair, only to show Luffy's resilience to bounce back and keep fighting.
てめえの経験の浅さを。
ゴムだから。
But we aren't Luffy. and Luffy will never arrive to save the day. And so Oda sends another message that we must create our own hope. We must fight the predestined fate that is pinned on the oppressed. The Palestinians and the people of Yemen who are currently resisting, compared to America, Israel, and Saudi Arabia, are perceived as ants in a storm. They are locked and caged in a colonial fate, forever destined to be dominated by their colonizers. However, dreams of liberation never die. And as long as Palestinians inherit the will of liberation, they will defy their colonial fate. And with armed struggle and resistance, they will free Palestine. Our job is simple. We are akin to the people in One Piece who aid the Straw Hats, or the revolutionaries in their struggle. Our opponents are powerful. They are mighty. They are terrifying. They are terrorists. But just like Luffy and Dragon, we gotta show some guts and fight. There are still many encampments out there that need your help. And there are Palestinians in Gaza that need funds. So linked below are ways you can help out. If you enjoyed this kind of anime deep dive, make sure you subscribe and leave a comment. Tell me who's your favorite Straw Hat and why are they your favorites? When I started watching, I was a Zoro fanboy. I was a giant Zoro fanboy. I would draw Zoro. But nowadays I vibe more with Jinbei and Luffy. Since we're here at the end, yeah, this video is another Palestine video. And if Dr. Fatima is watching, I'm sorry I broke my promise. But this video was fun to make. It was fun to write. Kind of. I mean, you know, it was kind of dark. This is how Lost Future videos go. You know, they're like, hey, look, this might be fun, and it turns out to be this depressing kind of video. Also, I'm Joy Boy, by the way, and you know, if Turb is watching, you better watch out. I'm gonna find the One Piece first and become the Pirate King. I'm gonna be very honest with you right now. I'm so lost right now. Like, I don't know what's next. So you tell me what I should make a video on, and maybe I'll make a video on it. I don't know. I'm itching to make a video on Death Note or Megalobox. I don't know. Megalobox is so good. It's like Cyberpunk 2077, but it's good. Anyways, I don't know why you're still watching. It's over. It's a short video, I hope. We're not gonna go over the hour again. Nope. And you know, I'm genuinely sorry for not releasing a video in 3 months. I got really burnt out from Zionism, and I got a terrible writer's block. So please forgive me and subscribe. Please, I'm gonna keep making videos. And last thing, you know, I forgot to thank you all for 5K, and you know, it's actually kind of really shocking to see my channel surpass 5K. See, look at this doomerous mentality that I have here. You know, you know. But here's to another 5K. If you get me to 10K, I'll make a video on the worst anime ever. Ghost Stories. I promise you, I'll do it. I swear. I'll watch that entire anime. It's something that I, you know, watched maybe like 50% of it, and then I was like, this is really bad, you know. I promise I'll watch it all. I'll make a video of me suffering, you know, like it'll be just me reacting to the anime, and I'll be like, oh shit, no, do I have to keep going? And yeah, I'll watch it all. Okay, that's it. We're done. Don't lose hope. If you're a subscriber, just know that you're part of my revolutionary pirate crew. If you're not a subscriber, then I don't know what you're doing. You know, subscribe to the channel. Get me to 10K. I promise I'll find the One Piece. I'll become the Pirate King. And hear me out, okay? We'll all be Pirate Kings, okay? It wouldn't be like a hierarchy, monarchy kind of situation where I'm like, hey, I'm the king of the pirates. You're all my subjects. You must obey me and kneel and bow and obey and whatnot. You know, like that goes against the principles of this video. Like I hope I hope people understand that I'm anti that. Okay, so yeah, we'll all be pirate kings if you subscribe. Okay, bye. Okay, bye. I'm totally not expecting some hateful comments coming after me.